Rise of the Robots. There's been tons and tons of YouTube channels that have covered Rise of the Robots. What was said, what was actually delivered. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to read, in its entirety, a review in Amiga Action. So this was issue 64 in December 1994. Rise of the Robots. Imagine an excited conversation, something along the lines of the following enthusiastic dialogue. Chicken, where am I off today? Somebody not as important. Mirage in Cheshire. They've got the Amiga version of Rise of the Robots for us to have first look at. Chicken, not the Rise of the Robots, surely. The same one that everyone said would never come out, the one that's been in development for over 2 years? Somebody not as important. That's the one. Chicken faints. Yes, folks, that was me a couple of weeks ago when we were first told that Rise of the Robots was ready, and on the Amiga too. So off I trekked to Congleton on the coldest day of the year so far to be the first to review the Amiga version. There's no point in being dishonest. As the months have gone by since news of ROTR first filtered through, I've been getting more and more sceptical as to how good it would actually be. We'd all seen the screenshots featuring gorgeous rendered robots, but surely they would be reserved for owners of Pentium-class PCs, while Amiga owners would be reduced to playing a version of the game featuring 2 stick men on a blue background. I've been doing this sort of thing long enough to have become maybe too cynical about such flash-in-the-pan releases, but all along Mirage have stuck to their guns. Ex-Bitmap Sean Griffiths has beavered away silently over many hard nights, along with hordes of others, to make this dream in particular become a reality. Anyway, back to the story. I was first shown the PC version and allowed to give it a go. Guess what? It looked exactly as I expected it to. I mean, it was a Super VGA CD-ROM version after all. Let's have a look at the Amiga version now, said Sean. I gulped. Did I really want to see this effort, which would make Street Fighter 2 for the Amiga look like the SNES version? Then it happened. The A1200 booted up, my jaw hit the floor, and a smile appeared on my face. My views on ROTR changed almost instantly from, it could be awful, to, I always knew it would be wonderful, smug. Metal Mickey. Amazingly, apart from fewer background colours, everything is the same as the PC version. Don't ask me how they've done it. I dread to think about the amount of hours that have gone into putting this together. But the same it is. The rendering is here, the speed is here, and it's virtually the same control method. There's enough comparisons for this review, because the Amiga version deserves the rest of the space. Everyone knows that this is an out-and-out beat-em-up, so I won't bore you with all that. It does have a plot which is worth mentioning, and revolves around a big android-making factory far into the future. One of the beasts has got a virus and has spread it to the rest of these highly intelligent cyborgs. The company has to do something, so it sends in a cyborg of its own to sort them all out. You start on the lowest level and have to work your way up, battering all that gets in your way. This is, of course, the one-player action. The 2-player game sees you trying to leather each other to within an inch of your lives. Okay, so it looks good and it has a nice story, but so does Dragon's Lair. This was another thing that initially worried me with Rise. It takes a clever programmer to code a beat-em-up that actually works and plays well. It sounds like the easiest job in the world to take a tried and tested genre and simply change the sprites into gleaming robots. But I've seen plenty of others, especially on the poor old Amiga, fall by the wayside for being nothing short of trash. If I don't behave myself, I'll have grey hairs before I'm 25. Once again, there was absolutely no reason for my worrying. I'm not too proud to say I was totally wrong. I'm only too glad to say it in fact. Rise of the Robots plays really well, far better than I would have imagined. And with graphics like these, it's surprising that gameplay hasn't been forsaken in any way. String Bean. The control works in a way that allows you to score as many hits as you like, but you actually have to plan things and think ahead. If you hold down the fire button, a power gauge steadily rises, and your hit is much more damaging. So, do you go for a large number of taps, or wind up for a couple of really big shots? Of course, while you're sitting back with your finger on the fire button, there's every chance your enemy will start to pull your head off, metaphorically speaking, of course. It's not Mortal Kombat, you know. It all happens over the best of 3 rounds, just like everything else, but it's just so polished that it's almost unbelievable. The fights are separated by a number of cinematic sections that announce the arrival of a new robot into the arena, or show your character as it makes its way through the factory. This keeps you up to date with what's going on and where you are, and it also allows the machine to load in the next memory-intensive section while you wait. I've gone on about the graphics already, and I'm going to talk about the music in more detail elsewhere. But it's also worth mentioning that nice clanking, whirring and fizzing sounds that occur as the metallic monsters move about and take hits. Everything sounds just right. So not only does it look and play like a dream, it sounds like one too. If you can have anything sounding like a dream, which you probably can't, but that's one for somebody to edit out, if they're not happy with my English. Well, that appears to be that. For ages now, you'll have been wondering whether it would be any good. And I can assure you that it is. There's going to be a hole in the lives of those guys at Mirage once this is finally out the shops. November 18th is the date for your diaries, by the way, because it's been a part of them for so long. Be warned, it's gonna set you back £42.99 on A1200 and CD32, which is pretty pricey, but if you think of all the hours of work that have been put into making this turn out the way it has, then there's some justification. Well, I don't have to pay to play it, but I'll leave you safe in the knowledge that this is the best beat-em-up for the Amiga, and it might just be worth writing your list to Santa right now. The lowdown. Publisher Mirage. Contact 0260 2999909. HD installable, yes. Price £42.92. Graphics 94%. Sound 94%. Playability 90%. Difficulty variable. Rise of the Robots is nothing short of stunning. The project is technically brilliant. The Amiga is stretched so far that it almost creaks. The CD32 and A1200 versions are identical, except the disc is shinier on the CD32. And other versions will just have less colours. Control, graphics, sound and playability are all excellent. As I said before, anything over £35 is expensive for a game in my book, but if ever anything is worth that sort of money, it has got to be this. A memorable moment in the Amiga's history, and you can quote me on that one, yes sirree. Reviewed by Chicken. Second opinion, this isn't possible. An Amiga game cannot look this good. I refuse to believe it. Someone from Mirage must have come in one night and cunningly swapped all the Amigas for PCs without anyone noticing. And what about those apostles, eh? Who are they trying to kid? Opinion by Doubting Thomas. Overall score 92%.